I'm playing as Edgar Allan Poe.
I'm Rachel, and I'm playing Sarah Helen Whitman.
My name is Enrique, and I'm playing Beanie Gambini.
My name is Carlos, and I play Adolf Winkler, the prosecutor.
Hi, my name is Angel, and I'm playing as Maria
I'm
Clem.
Jenny, and I'm playing Annie Richmond.
Hi, I'm Adriana, and I'm playing the judge.
I'm gonna beat you. You're not gonna.
So
You get it?
Rebecca is
You're not gonna get. You're not gonna go to jail. He's not
All
gonna.
right.
You may be seated. Is the prosecution ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, members of the jury, my name is Adolf Winkler, and I am representing the people in this case. We intend to prove that starting on the day of November 16th, 1848, please find Edgar Allan Poe guilty of cheating and lying. Thank you.
Your Honor, members of the jury, my name is Beanie Gambini, the lawyer, and my co-counsel and I are representing Edgar Allan Poe in this case. We intend to prove the day of today. Please find Edgar Allan Poe not guilty of cheating and lying. Thank you.
Prosecution, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I call to the stand Sarah Helen Whitman. Ms. Whitman,
Yes.
when did you and Edgar begin your relationship?
Well, I have here a letter I sent to Poe in early August of 1848, and I quote, "A low bewildering melody is murmuring in my ear, tones such as in the twilight wood the aspen thrills to hear, when fauna slumbers on the hill, and all the entranced boughs are still, the jasmine twines her snowy stars into a fairer wreath. The lily through my lattice bars exhales a sweeter breath, and gazing on night's starry cope, I dwell with beauty which is hope."
From this poem, it can be inferred that you had an interest in Edgar, correct? I mean, you did say, "I dwell with beauty, which is hope."
I suppose.
Very well then. Miss Whitman, did you have any suspicion that Poe was cheating on you?
Well, in this letter that I sent him, I quoted his letter about October 10th of 1848. "How often have I heard men and even women say of you, he has great intellectual power but no principle, no moral sense. I begin to have suspicions when I heard comments about his actions, which he even mentioned to defend himself."
Well then, Miss Whitman, how often did Mr. Poe go out while you stayed home?
He sent me this letter making excuses about his whereabouts. New York City. "My own dearest Helen, your letters to my mother and myself have just been received, and I hasten to reply in season for this afternoon's. I cannot be in Providence until Wednesday morning, and I must try and get some sleep after I arrive. It is more than probable that I shall not see you until about 2 p.m. Keep up heart, for all will go well. My mother sends her dearest love and says she will return good for evil and treat you much better than your mother has ever treated me. Remember me to Mr. P and believe me. Ever your own, Edgar."
Thank you, Miss Whitman. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. The defense attorney may now cross-examine the witness.
Hello, Miss.
Hello?
First question. Do you think that your relationship with Mr. Poe over here was really important to him? One of the days that Edgar left was to invite her mother, Maria Clem, to your wedding that you guys were planning.
I believe he tried to seem like he had good intentions, but never actually loved me.
Are your suspicions even valid?
Well, I have heard of many stories of Edgar only looking to marry into wealth, and well, I had some of my own fortune.
Last question, miss. He considered Annie a friend. Do you believe it's right for Mr. Poe to have female acquaintances? Or does your jealousy get the best of you?
Answer me this. How would Annie be able to quote a letter Poe sent to me in about January 21st of 1849 to I, Miss Sarah Helen Whitman? I will not repeat all her vile and slanderous words. You have doubtless heard them, but one thing she says that I cannot deny, though I do not believe it, that you had been publisher to her once, and that on the Saturday preceding of the Sabbath, on which you were to have been published for the second time, she went herself to the Reverend Mr. Crocker's, and after stating her reasons for doing so, requested him to stop all further proceedings.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Cheater!
No.
Are we okay now?
I suppose.
I agree. Sure.
Prosecution, you may call your second witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I call to the stand Annie Richmond. Miss Richmond, what was your relationship with Mr. Poe?
Well, if you look at our letters, you'll see I didn't respond from October 1848 to January 1849. Please tell me what my relationship with Mr. Poe was.
Well, did you ever receive intimate letters from Edgar? And if so, when did you two had an intimate relationship? Wouldn't you say that?
On November 16, 1848, I received a passionate letter from Poe begging for me to come see him.
Well then, were you aware that Mr. Poe was sending intimate letters to Sarah Helen before that date, November 16th, 1848?
No.
Liar. Get back to the door and do your job.
Yes?
Silence.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Richmond. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
You may take a seat. The defense attorney may now cross-examine the witness.
Hello, Miss Richmond. Okay. Why did Mr. Poe call you a sister if you consider your guys' relationship a love relationship? In the letter of November 16, 1848, Mr. Poe called you a sister. I think Mr. Poe sees it as a friendship.
That's very interesting.
Do you believe you were the one causing this whole cheating accusation? Or were you just the one thinking that you were special when he considered you a friend?
When two people spend enough special moments together, I would think they would consider each other friends. On the topic of feeling special, I would say Poe spent quite a lot of time making me feel special, writing to me for my beloved Annie to consult your happiness with under all circumstances, will and must be mine. End quote. Dated from February 18, 1849.
Okay, my last question. Mr. Poe calls you a faithful friend in the letter of January 21st, 1849. How do you feel about that?
Grateful. I would consider him a friend as well, but not faithful.
Thank you, for honor. No further questions.
The defense attorney may now call their witness.
Maria Clem, please step up. Maria Clem, how faithful was Poe when he talked to you about Miss Helen over there?
Well, he sounded very in love with Helen. Their affection for each other seemed so magical, as if it wasn't true.
What did Poe say about Annie? What does he consider Annie from his point of view of the relationship from the letters?
Poe mentioned how wealthy Miss Annie was quite a few times. He would say our life was going to change as we would move in together. But of course, he did also mention it would be after her husband's death. He did sound like he had some sort of care for it, but it's noticeable to see that it wasn't love. It's clear to see how he felt about her.
And last question, how do you feel about Poe? Do you care for him as much as he did? And if you did, why did you sell him out to his arch nemesis?
I love Poe with all my heart, and maybe I didn't care for him as much as he did, and that was my fault. He seemed happy and sad at times, but when he would mention a lady like Miss Helen, he seemed happy.
Thank you, for honor. No further questions.
Now cross-examine the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Clement. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Poe mentioned previous times that you wouldn't write back, and he expresses expectations toward your pending letter several times. Why is that?
I had much disappointment towards my son and what he was doing, and the people who he was affecting. I just couldn't write back for some time.
Interesting. Interesting. Were you sick or feeling down at all during the time when Poe was away from home searching for money?
I might have had maybe a cold or flu, but nothing so serious. Just a few hours of rest, and I felt a little better. By the next day, I was back to my normal self.
Okay. When Mr. Poe was writing letters to you, did he sound curious or suspicious about Annie? He wrote in the letter sent to you on August 29th, 1849, "But I want to live near Annie. There is another thing too, dear mother, which drives me frantic, my love for Annie. I worship her beyond all human love. My passion for her grows stronger every day." Can you explain that?
Affection towards each other seemed so beautiful, but there was always something that came out wrong, as if it was isolation or departure towards one another.
Thank you, Ms. Clem. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
The defense attorney may now proceed questioning the Edgar Allan Poe.
Thank you, Sheriff. Hello, Poe.
Hello.
What do you call your relationship with Annie Richmond?
I see Annie Richmond as no other than a sister, as I recall writing to her one of my letters. Oh, my pure, victorious, generous, beautiful sister, Annie.
How did this whole accusation of you cheating start from your perspective?
I think the accusations of me cheating on Helen with Annie started because she started to feel jealous that Annie had more money than the fact and more personality, something that Helen never had.
Silence!
Screw
You do it one more time, you're out of here.
Sir?
All right? You may proceed.
And my last question. Were you happy that the wedding was going to take place?
By all fond needs, the marriage between me and Helen could be one of the happiest moments of my life. I remember writing to my dear Muddy, "We shall be married on Monday, and we'll be at the Foundum Tuesday on the first train, writing that on December 23rd, 1948.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
The prosecutor may now come up.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You got this.
Yep. Mr. Poe,
Yes.
how are you doing?
Good.
All right, that's good, that's good. First question. Why did you send suggestive letters to Maria about Annie in regards to your love for Annie?
It is true I did write to my mother about Annie, but hear me out. In the letter, I only said those things about Annie because I wanted to coax her in regards to give some money when her husband left her to support my mother as I recall saying, Mr. Shelton left property to the amount of $60,000, and since his death, it has much increased in value and have now worth at least $70,000. You will no longer have to suffer as you have done.
So, you're admitting that you wanted money from your mistress. Is it true?
Correct. As I recall, back to your last question, I just wanted the money to move out of the state to support my dear Muddy, as a thank you for all the support she gave me.
Isn't it true that you would call Virginia, the woman you married and loved, your sister? In a letter to your Aunt Maria, you wrote the following. For Virginia, my love, my own sweetest sissy, my darling little wifey, think well before you break the heart of your cousin Eddie, revealing the love you had for Virginia and calling her sissy.
That is true because my mother, Clem, brought me into the family. And I started to see her as my sister until I saw the beauty in Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Poe.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Both the prosecution and the defense have now rested the cases. The attorneys will now present their final arguments. Prosecution, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the jury, today you have heard testimony about finding Mr. Poe guilty of cheating. I would like to remind you of some important information that you should consider in your decision. These facts include that Mr. Poe had a suspicious romance between him and Annie Richmond that were revealed in the letters that were brought to light in this court. Please find the defendant, Edgar Allan Poe, guilty. Thank you.
Members of the jury, today you have heard testimony about Edgar Allan Poe being accused of a cheater and a liar. I would like to remind you some important information that you should consider in your decision. These facts include that 1. Mr. Poe never had any love intentions with Miss Richmond. They were just friendly and just had a scheme together so they can both get money and Mr. Poe can help her dear mother. 2. Mr. Poe put his full attention on the second time he was going to get married to Helen. And 3rd, the whole accusation was only spread because of the jealousy of Helen. Please find Edgar Allan Poe not guilty of cheating. Thank you.
The jury may now discuss and agree whether Edgar Allan Poe is guilty or not.